They are round, they are long, and snapping them together feels a lot like playing Tetris. But this definitely isn't a game. These cells are about to replace my fried lead-acid battery pack and save the budget. Lead-acid isn't the worst option for mid-size electric ATV, but it is insanely heavy and needs something like 8 hours to recharge after every ride. That's just ridiculous. When most people think of batteries, it's either heavy lead-acid or expensive lithium-ion. But there is a really interesting option right in between – lithium iron phosphate. It offers most of the benefits of lithium-ion at prices close to lead-acid. There may not be a perfect battery, but this comes pretty close. Instead of wasting money on bulky, outdated lead-acid technology, you can build a battery that's exactly the size, shape, and power you need basically by tightening a few nuts. I bought 16 pieces of EV-C40 cylindrical cells from a trusted seller for under 8 euros each. That's about 9.5 USD per cell. They are rated for a 20 amp hours of capacity, can deliver 60 amps continuously and up to 100 amp peak, while still offering the safety and stability of lead-acid batteries. Pretty impressive specs for the price, and that was the main reason why I choose them. They are also modular, which means the entire battery pack can be assembled in just minutes. No spot welding, no complicated cell work. Just connect them with the included nickel-plated bus bars, tighten the M6 nuts, and you're done. To keep the cells in position, you can use modular 2x1 holders and build pretty much any shape you want. Or you can design your own custom version and 3D print it. Depending on the available space, you can create all kinds of unusual layouts to really maximize your battery compartment. At some point, it honestly starts to feel like playing old-school Tetris. Here's a quick side-by-side comparison. Both battery packs are rated at 12 volts and 20 amp hours of capacity. But when you look at the specs, the lithium iron phosphate pack clearly wins. It is smaller, charges faster, costs less over time, and most importantly, it is way lighter. In fact, it weighs about 4 times less than lead-acid battery. The 2x1 holders are a great off-the-shelf solution, but I had a different idea. One that simplified the entire building process and made it even safer. A single solid 3D printed holder is far more stable than several modular ones. I also designed hidden channels for the balance wires, integrated mounting points, and most importantly, custom end cap lids that fully covers and insulates all exposed contacts. Size-wise, these cells will fit perfectly inside the waterproof ammo box, which is a super rugged and proven solution. I've done that before, check out that video if you haven't already. I was really happy how it turned out, but this time I wanted everything to fit inside a standard ATV battery case. It already has a built-in charging port, and I wanted to keep it clean factory look. I printed both holders in PETG with 3 perimeters and 15% infill. Since I already planned the entire connection layout, all that was left was placing the cells. The model uses tight tolerances, so everything fits snugly and stays firmly in place. After installing the second half of the holder, I secured the cells using zip ties. This might sound simple, but it is well thought out design detail that makes assembly much easier. If you ever use zip ties, you know how strong and durable they can be. When tightened correctly, they are just secure as many traditional mounting methods. No metal screws, no heavy brackets, just 4 zip ties. You might notice the holders are a bit tall, and that was intentional. They fully cover the M6 mounting studs on the cells. Trimming them shorter is possible, but I didn't want it to risk it. There is a small chance the factory welded terminal could loosen during cutting, and that's not a risk worth taking. This battery is built in a 16S 1P configuration, so the included bus bars fits perfectly. But if you want to run cells in parallel for higher capacity or higher discharge, you'll need custom bus bars. From my experience, the easiest way to get those is by ordering them online, for example from PCBWay. They are well known for their PCBs, it's literally in their name, but they also offer CNC machining, laser cutting, sheet metal fabrication, 3D printing in plastics and metals, and even injection molding. The process is really simple. Choose the metal sheet fabrication service, upload your design files, pick your materials, and you instantly get a quote with pricing upfront. Out of the available 18 surface finishes, I recommend nickel plating, so your custom copper bus bars stay protected from oxidation and maintain their conductivity. And if something in your design needs tweaking, their engineers will actually help you fix it before production. which has saved me more than once. Whether you're prototyping, building something completely custom, or just need one-off part, PCBWay can make it quickly, professionally, and at great price. Check out the link in the description to see what they can create for you. To protect and balance the battery cells during charging and discharging, I'm installing a BMS. I've heard great things about this JK BMS, so I decided to try it myself. It is rated for 80 amps continuous and 150 amps peak discharge, which is more than enough for my current setup. First, I needed to extend the BMS negative wire. Since my setup doesn't exceed 60 amps of continuous discharge, 10 AVG silicone wire is more than sufficient. This is the ideal spot for the BMS. To ensure the proper insulation, I placed the fiberglass sheet underneath. I secured the BMS using double-sided tape and started planning the wiring. Here's a small trick. I placed double-sided tape under the balance wires to keep them tidy and in place. It worked perfectly. Most of the hard work was already done when I designed the 3D printed holder, so following the wiring diagram was straightforward. One by one, each balance wire was trimmed, crimped, and secured to its designated cell. Every wire was terminated with a ring connector and fastened with a nut. Honestly, I can't imagine a simpler or more convenient battery pack assembly process. The BMS kit includes 2 temperature sensors, one mounted at the back of the pack and one at the front. Another great feature of the JK BMS is built-in power button. Press it once and the BMS wakes up. Like most smart BMS units, this uses mobile app. A QR code on the unit links directly to the App Store. Inside the app, only a few quick settings are needed. First, I set the battery type to lithium iron phosphate. Then, configure the battery layout to 16S configuration and enter the capacity rating. That's it. The battery is ready to use. Now here's the lesson I learned the hard way. I originally built this battery in a 15S configuration, and after the first charge I got an unpleasant surprise. A fully charged lithium iron phosphate cell measures about 3.6 volts, so the pack initially showed 54 volts. But once you disconnect the charger, the voltage settles to around 3.4 volts per cell, bringing the whole pack down to about 51 volts. This behavior is completely normal for lithium iron phosphate batteries, but I learned that in a hard way. Because of this, I had to order one more cell, redesign the holders for 16S setup, reprint everything, rebuild the pack, and reshoot most of this video. Lesson learned. But here's the upside. Lithium iron phosphate batteries hold their voltage incredibly well. From full charge down to about 20%, they deliver almost the same power at stable voltage. That means my 16S pack can use almost its entire capacity while keeping the motor at full speed the whole time. No fading performance, just steady, reliable power. After connecting the main positive lead and tightening it down with the M6 nut, I finished the battery pack with a 3D printed lid. It doesn't just cover the exposed contacts, it also insulates and separates them internally for safety. Once everything was assembled, the pack fits snugly into the original battery enclosure with no rattling or moving. That's one of the biggest advantages of designing and printing your own parts. You can dial everything in exactly the way you want. Here are 2 more examples of practical 3D printing. These small printed pieces don't just plug factory holes, they actually add useful functionality. The rectangular part holds the power button and, with some automotive sealant and 2 bolts, mounts cleanly into existing opening. It almost looks factory made. The round piece routes the power cables and seals the opening in the battery box lid. Again, using the same sealant for clean, weather-tight finish. For the battery connection, I went with XT90 anti-spark connectors. They're definitely overkill for this setup, but I use them everywhere, so it keeps things compatible across my projects. Plus, they're way easier to plug and unplug than smaller XT60s. The battery case still had some extra space, so I made a simple spacer from plywood scrap to prevent the battery from moving back and forth. And if the battery ever tips over, these pieces of firm foam should keep everything secured in place. There is probably no such thing as perfect battery that's ideal for every situation, but for my setup, where there's plenty of space and the discharge currents aren't super high, lithium iron phosphate batteries are pretty much perfect fit. They cost about the same as lead acid, they are much lighter, and they make it easy to build a pack in exactly the shape and capacity you need. Most importantly, they're extremely safe. That's why this chemistry is so popular for home solar systems, campers and RVs. And yes, I know, the rear tires and the open differential definitely need some attention to make the ride better. I'm also seriously considering a shunt mod to squeeze a bit more power out of the motor. The best part? It's totally free. All it takes is opening the controller and doing a little soldering. Let me know if you'd like to see that in the future video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.